good morning and welcome to AM Break with Ann and Audra. And where are we?
We are at the Edison in Cascades Park, this beautiful building. I mean, the light's perfect right now. Are y'all seeing it at home?
And the
With
window
natural
behind
light.
us is gorgeous.
Yes.
And joining us is Heather from,
Hi.
I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm Heather Thomas with Tallahassee Woman Magazine, and I'm also a wife and a mom of 2 children. And it's my mom role that I'm here.
Correct.
Today, more or less.
What we're talking about today is a big question for a lot of parents, children and social media platforms.
Ooh, boy.
A lot of questions for me, because we were talking about it, Heather and I, we
Right.
did not grow up with social media.
No.
Our parents didn't have to make this decision of, hey, how old do you let your kid on whatever platform? And so basically we're talking about this issue that a lot of moms are concerned with, and dads. And so I guess my question is, how old are your children?
Right.
Okay, so my daughter is 13, going on 16. Most,
I was about to say 20.
most days.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it might be 20, today, but and I have a son who's 10.
Right. So
Okay.
then let's talk about
Yeah.
Grace, your daughter.
Right.
At what age did you,
Right.
is she on social media? At what age did you decide it was okay? I mean, what was the process for
Right.
you?
Actually, to start out with, to go back to what you were saying, our children are called digital natives. They are handed tablets, phones from the get-go.
Digital natives, I've never
They're
heard of that.
very
Interesting.
savvy. Their brains are
For
now
sure.
being wired differently, and so we would probably be called digital tourists.
Oh.
Like we're just like
Right.
hey,
On the
this is a
outskirts, I'll
nice
pop
week.
in and I'm
like
bye-bye.
we're just we are like 20 steps behind when
Sure.
it comes to our children, and that's important to note when we get further along in this discussion.
Right.
Because they think a lot differently about digital technology and social media in general.
Sure.
And that can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing when it comes to us, parents trying to keep up with them. And really,
Right.
we need to try to be 5 to 10 steps ahead of them.
Sure.
Which brings me back to, my
The
first
process for your
point
daughter.
when you were
Yeah.
asking me about Grace is, I come here today with a lot of opinions, and mostly from our trial and error experiences with the focus on error.
Sure.
And I'm no expert, but we have learned a lot along the way, and a lot of it is because we had to learn the hard way about a lot of these
Well, I'm
things.
curious. I mean, did she
yeah.
come to you at a certain age and say, Mom, all my
Well,
friends
they
are
all
doing
do.
this?
They all
and
do. So
Well, my
starting
11-year-old,
around in
my
fifth
11-year-old's
grade,
negotiating.
In
Okay.
fifth
If I get straight
grade,
A's, can I have Snapchat?
we
so
were
this is what's on my
seeing,
mind.
everyone with a phone, basically.
right.
And then in
I
fifth
need my
grade,
phone first.
towards the end of fifth grade, Grace was asking if she could have a phone and social media. At that point, we were one of the last holdouts for her to even have a phone that actually had, phone connection. At
Sure.
that point, she had some of our passed down phones that just had the Wi-Fi.
Right. And
Right. So
texting
we were one of the
capabilities.
last. I felt like the last parents. I'm sure there are others out there, but certainly we that's how we felt. So when she turned 13 was when we actually got her own phone that actually connected and worked, and also allowed her to have social media.
Sure.
Now, one of my important points here to make is, and again, what we've learned the hard way is, not just are they ready, and it doesn't matter how old they are. Because this is an important quote that I'm reflecting on right now is, maturity starts not with age, but when you begin to accept the responsibility of your own behavior. So some kids are further
Right.
along with that, and some kids are not. So you
Sure.
have to
Grown-ups are
really...
some grown-ups,
Yeah,
really.
thank
mean-
you. Like there's like 7-year-olds out there,
Right.
like when are they
Like,
gonna
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
get some of that going on? So okay, and then with Grace, and in full disclosure, I won't get too deep into it. She also has a pre-existing mental health condition, and of course those run the spectrum from ADD, ADHD.
Oh, sure,
Hers
right.
is anxiety, OCD. So of course those can run the spectrum. You can get into depression and other things. So you need to be aware of your child's mental health state. You
Right.
need to have that active searching, understanding. Kids need to also be aware of their mental health state.
Right.
They need to be fully cognizant of those thoughts coming through their brains, especially our girls, because social
yeah,
media
right.
is going to enhance that for good or bad. And so you have to be really aware, okay, is my kid really mature enough? And then are they mentally, health-wise ready?
Well, I was even thinking about, so our youngest are 4, the twins are 4, and Paloma, for Christmas, she said, I just want an iPad. That was the only thing she wanted. I'm like, okay, she got an iPad, they didn't.
Right.
And they just didn't understand, well, why did she get it? I said, well, not even social media. I said, you can't handle it. If I have to take this away, you're going to go bonkers and lose it on me. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, is like you get lost in it, you try to take it away, and they lose. So that's without the social media. That's the part that
So just because Grace got it at 13 or one of your children gets a certain age does not mean the other kid is going to automatically, well, I'm 12 now, and my brother got it at 12, so I'm going to get it at 12. You have to take each child, separately.
Case by case, sure.
Yes, okay. And then also, you need to ask yourselves, are you ready? Because
and that's the question. I don't think I am.
and that is really almost just as important as asking the question of if your child is ready, because you need to be ready to be at your strongest parenting,
Protective.
persona.
Overprotective, or is they got to work it out?
You need to be willing to devote hours of your own time and energy to this. And because it is evolving, and because they're moving 10 steps ahead, you have to be moving and evolving right along with them. You can't just say, okay, I've put all these fail-safes in place, I've done all this, I'm going to just back off and just let them go. You have to constantly be vigilant and be learning about how they're going to be deceptive. Every teen, think about when we were teens.
Goodness.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so imagine
secret
handing,
apps, the app that the parents don't
handing
see, or
this loaded weapon bomb into their
Interact with the
hands and be
world.
like, you know, you just do what you're gonna do with that. And no, I mean, as a parent, you don't hand over the keys to their car. You don't hand over something without fully expecting that you're going to invest a lot of your time, energy, money into making sure that, I think of like a bowling alley where when they're kids, or I still like it too, when, you put the blow up bumpers.
The bumpers, sure.
Yeah, like these are your bumpers. And, when we think you're ready for, those to be deflated or whatever, but you may have to put the bumpers back up over and over and over again.
Well, how is it going for you with Grace?
Okay, so she actually has lost social media right now.
Okay.
So one of the things that we did, my husband is a contract real estate attorney, so a commercial real estate attorney, so he deals a lot with contracts. One of the things that we did, and we saw other parents doing, he drew up a beauty of a contract. I was like, that is a thing of beauty.
He has thought of it.
If he wasn't so paranoid about, he doesn't do the whole social media thing. I almost took a picture of it and posted it on social media.
You actually might need to.
Check
this
this
could be
out,
friendly
people.
for everyone at home. We might need to put this
Contract
online.
is amazing.
Seriously, a template. Give it out.
But there are templates on the internet that you can get and adapt to your,
Specific
needs.
situation, right?
Also, just like any contract, there are going to be loopholes. Your child will find loopholes. And even though you say, hey, look, you sign this, and they'll say, oh, I didn't know that.
Not should.
They will find, just expect them to find ways. And that's why Grace lost her Instagram right now and all our social media, is because she found an old iPad that we had forgotten about. Because she had lost social media, and so she got around our systems by downloading Instagram on this iPad.
Wow.
And so they will find ways
I believe it.
to get around the rules. So you have to constantly go back to this contract that you all signed and, adapt it and amend it. And just keep reminding them. And I think that's the other thing, too. You have to outlast their will. And as a parent, it starts from the very beginning, and that doesn't really ever end. These are your rules. Here are the consequences. No bending, and that goes from, baby, toddler on up. And it gets harder, of course, as they get older, because, you don't want constant negativity. You don't want constant strife. You're like, all right, well, maybe just this once I'll bend. Well, it just takes that one time. to have them exposed to something or have them reach out to, that kind of thing. So you have to kind of armor yourself, as a parent. You have to be ready to, this is a battle, and you're battling for your child's, survival, future, their mind, their mental health state. So just like you carefully curate, what they're eating, what they're watching, why on earth wouldn't we carefully curate what they're being exposed to on the internet and social media? Because just like we will have followers or follow others, that feed becomes an algorithm. So they'll start following people, and they'll start being fed a daily diet or whatever. So you need to have constant access to their account. And I know they're not going to like it, but that's too bad. And if they don't like it, then they don't have to have social media. I always tell Grace, I would love to not have to do this. I mean, that would be the easiest thing.
And we don't need more work.
Because she thinks I enjoy it. Like, you love spying. I'm like, actually, I have so many other things I would rather be doing right now than spying on you. So they have to know that you're always going to be watching. And with all of these apps, I think the most appeal, not just the feeds and what the freedom of that is tapping into some of the messaging aspects. We were dunces, I feel like. We didn't realize Instagram, and this is when I was still new to Instagram, I didn't realize Instagram had a messaging component, because I was just on Facebook, and by the way, Facebook is for old people, old people like us.
Like,
none of the younger,
thank you,
younger
Facebook.
people are like,
I'm glad.
Yeah, so you'll very rarely find a person under the age of 20 on Facebook, and they may set one up just to kind of like
exactly, check on the parents and
like say, oh, look at me, but so I, we were like, oh, and all of a sudden we were like, well, she was talking to all kinds of people, and all kinds of stuff was going on, and we even found there's apps out there that disguise themselves, and so that's
so
another
they can
thing.
log in and log
and she hates it, but she has to have our password in order to download any app.
Oh, good. I get that approved. Actually, I do that even with Palomas. I think before you subscribe and do all this stuff, I have to approve it. And
there are apps out there disguised just for teens to download in order for them to have some sort of social media access or just have access to talking to people that they want to talk to.
Well, let me ask you one final question in closing. What are you going to do with your son, having experience? And boys and girls are different. Will you change your process with your son?
To a degree. So it just depends on, how he starts out with it. We'll lay the same foundation, the same, groundwork for him on that. I will, but I didn't want to leave today without recommending a couple apps that we will install on his phone as well. We recommend an app called Bark. Okay. It's called, like it's a little doggy on it, and it will alert you to any sort of bullying language, profanity,
that's fantastic, 'cause that's
sexual
my concern.
innuendos, any sort of content, whether they're being exposed to that content
deleting it or
whether they're engaging in it. And it checks their messaging, and it also checks their text. So it's not.
This is the answer.
So we gotta flash that up.
Yeah,
Bark. Okay. What else? What else?
And there's others out there, but that one has been effective for us. And the other one is Our Pact. Now, Our Pact is the app that we use to regulate her usage. So that's another thing, especially knowing that our teens have very addictive personalities. I mean, they're states of mind. I wouldn't say personalities, but their brains are still growing, and so they're going to be just as susceptible as we are to being distracted and I'll work on this and let me just check my social media real quick, and so they need to have that regulated. So Our Pact helps you do that. When we first installed it on Grace's phone, she was like, what wizardry is this? Because literally the apps just disappear.
She didn't expect it from
they're gone.
Sure. Okay.
They're gone. And
maybe we should do that as a parents' weekend. Like, Sean, here's what we're gonna do. You got this much time. Romantic weekend, we're out.
Yeah, and
he's gonna do it to you. What are you talking about?
He's
doing it to you.
And it's gonna take some time though to work with these apps. I mean, it took my husband all day one day just to
Familiarize.
to figure all the stuff out, and then hook up her laptop, hook up her phone, hook up all the devices that they use.
We'll find a way to get the stuff on.
And again, though, guys, no app is as good as you being vigilant and you constantly assuming that they're going to get in trouble with they just will. They just will expect it. Like just any teen, they're gonna get in trouble. And so your job as a parent is to put up the bumpers, put up the boundaries so that at least they have the freedom. They do. You're giving them this freedom. But just like anything, you wouldn't just let them out into the world without giving them some tools, some barriers, so that they're not, going so far that you can't take them back.
Well, you were wonderful, and this is why I picked her. That's why we invited you on as a guest. We will probably be covering this topic more. We'll definitely have Heather back again. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, really.
And we will be right back.
Coming up next week, we have social media expert Bianca with Hatch and Fly to give us more insight into our children and protecting them while on social media. And we hear from Leon County Sheriff's Office Detective Travis Knight to give us more information about how we can protect our kids from predators while they're online.